There are a ton of amazing vehicles in GTA, so today I'm going to be showing you guys the top 10 best vehicles in GTA. If you guys disagree with any part in my list and want to suggest a good vehicle, let me know in the comments. So yeah, without further more yapping, let's get into the video. Okay then, starting off we got the Nightshark. This thing is one of the best vehicles in GTA, mainly because this is a really defensive vehicle. This thing can take up to 28 homing missiles, meaning that it can survive an entire Oppressor Mark II, because the Oppressor Mark II has 20 missiles, so get in the bin. Now this thing can also take 8 RPGs, which is really good. On top of that, the Nightshark is a super buffed out vehicle with really good acceleration but unfortunately a really low top speed. This thing can literally push vehicles out of the way, and if you put the armor plating on the windows and around the car, you can be protected from people shooting at you, which is incredibly good. Now in theory the Insurgent pickup custom would be better, but the Nightshark is extremely amazing because you can literally take this to a customs and repair it, and there's no special icon for this vehicle, so if you're PvPing or something, no one will know which vehicle you're in, so when they see a Nightshark, they are cooked. This thing also has front mounted machine guns on the front, which are useless, but if you get an opportunity to use them and you feel like you can make use of them, you can. I think it's a no-brainer that you should get the Nightshark, and if you don't, you are tripping, brothers. You're tripping. Next up we got the Apar Virtue. This thing is one of the best Imani Tech vehicles in GTA, as well as it's one of the quickest vehicles in GTA. On last gen, which includes PC, this thing is actually the fastest accelerating car in GTA, and it's one of the fastest on new gen. Because this thing has Imani Tech, this thing has armor plating, slick mines, as well as a missile lock-on jammer. With the armor plating, this thing can take 12 RPGs and 12 homing missiles, which is insane. This means that you can be extremely safe in this vehicle when you're driving around, and if there's a Oppressor Mark II after you, even though they're capable of killing you, they are probably going to miss the shots, they do not have skill, and they can't lock onto you. Now unfortunately this thing doesn't have the highest top speed because it's electric, and it tends to slide a little bit. But this thing is an amazing vehicle, you should be buying it. Actually, you shouldn't be buying this thing because you can literally get this for completely free if you complete the first and last those missions. So yes, those are quite annoying and painful missions, but if you get through them and your sanity remains, you are going to get your hands on an amazing vehicle. Next up we got the Bravado Banshee GTS. This thing came with the Agents of Sabotage DLC and is now one of the best vehicles in GTA. This is mainly because this is one of the fastest vehicles in GTA, just being slightly slower than the Vivo Custom. However, this thing can actually turn extremely well. Now I do feel that this thing has a little weak turning when it's on lower speeds, but when it gets to a higher speed, it actually turns incredibly well. Therefore, I feel like this is going to be one of the fastest vehicles in its class, especially if you throw it around a track which has lots of straights and high speed turns. This thing also has a Imani Tech with a missile lock-on jammer, so if you're in a lobby with a ton of griefers, they won't be able to lock onto you. And yes, this thing can't survive any missiles or explosions, but since it's so fast, you have a good chance of surviving. One thing I do want to take away from this thing is that its acceleration is little on the weak side compared to how fast this thing goes, and that when this thing is damaged, it just decides to quit turning. It just dislocates its steering wheel and it just does not want to turn, and for some reason it just starts jumping around. So yeah, that's the Bravado Banshee GTS for you. Next up we got the Terminus. This thing is one of the best off-road vehicles in GTA, which also has Imani Tech. This thing can be equipped with a missile lock-on jammer, as well as armor plating and slicks. This thing can take 4 RPGs and 10 homing missiles when it has the armor plating. Again, no gremlin can lock onto you in this, which is amazing, and if someone is trying to chase you down, you can just put a slick down and put them into Tokyo Drift Simulator, and it's time to say goodbye. This thing has really good acceleration and really good turning, and it's one of the fastest SUVs in the game, being slightly slower than the Gallivanter Baller SCD and the Canis Castigator, which are the fastest SUVs in GTA. So yeah, make sure to pick up the Terminus, it is pretty good. Next up we got the Toreador. This is a vehicle I call the Fly Swatter. It swats all the mosquitoes. This thing is insane. This thing can take 2 RPGs and 6 homing missiles. So if an Oppressor Mark II does try to explode you, you will survive. On top of that, this thing is one of the best tracking missiles in the game, meaning that if a mosquito thinks they're slick, you can just kill them in 1 or 2 rockets, which is insane. This thing is also really quick and fast, and it's paired up with a boost, which just makes this thing insane. On top of that, this thing is a submersible vehicle, so you can literally drive it as a submarine. So if you're running away from someone, you can just go in the water and brothers can't do shit. Next up we got the Acid Lab. This thing can take 28 RPGs and 48 homing missiles. This thing is a freaking tank. This thing can survive 2 Oppressor Mark IIs, which is quite wild. On top of that, this is one of the strongest vehicles in GTA, and surprisingly for a truck, it has a really good top speed. Unfortunately, this thing has the unable to steer syndrome type 1, which many trucks have, meaning that it can't turn, as well as it was manufactured with no brakes. But if you forget about those, this thing is an insane vehicle. On top of that, you can put different types of mines, which is super cool, and you can put a ram on the front so you can push everyone out of the way. On top of that, the Asset Lab is one of the best passive businesses in GTA, making you $350,000 in 4 hours of time without you doing anything other than just supplying the business. And if you do it in a full public session, you get $500,000, which is insane. And the Asset Lab literally costs you $750,000, which is mind-blowing. Now you do need to complete the first dose missions, which is painful, but for a car this good, I think it's worth it. Now I better not catch you lacking, because if you're going to go ahead and buy the Brigade 6x6 without doing the first dose missions, you're literally wasting your money, because you can't make it into the Asset Lab without doing the first dose missions. So I better not catch you lacking. Don't try to be slick, buddy. You're not cutting any corners. You're not him, brother. You're not him. So just make sure you do the first dose missions. Just before we carry on with the video, I do want to say that 95.3% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be giving you guys content on all the new things in this DLC as fast as possible. So yeah, let's get back into the video. Next up, we got the Sparrow or the Buzzard. Both of these are one of the fastest helicopters in the game. Now for the Sparrow, you can get it after purchasing your Kasaka, and the Buzzard, you can just buy it off Warstock Cash and Carry for just under $1.8 million. Now if you have any of the two, it is good, because both of these helicopters are super good when it comes to going around the map, because you can literally spawn them next to you. These two are weaponized as well, with the Sparrow having homing missiles as well as flares, and the Buzzard having machine guns and homing missiles. Honestly, you should get one of the two if you haven't already. They are amazing vehicles and it'll help you complete missions and just traveling around the map much faster. Next up, we got the B-11, one of the best aircrafts in GTA. This thing can take 2 RPGs and 6 homing missiles. Not only that, but this thing actually has some really cool features. First of all, this vehicle has a machine gun and has homing missiles. This thing also has this special feature in which you can literally shoot multiples of missiles at once, like literally, I don't know, 6 missiles scattering in different directions, which is so cool and super insane, and you can output a ton of damage using that. On top of that, this thing has a super cool feature in which if you're lower to the ground, the speed of the B-11 will reduce so you can hit your targets much more easily. Other than that, this thing has super good acceleration and a super high top speed, and is again one of the best aircrafts in GTA. Next up, we got the Raiju. This thing is slightly weaker than the B-11, taking only 3 homing missiles and dies to 1 RPG. However, the Raiju is definitely better than the B-11. This is because the Raiju is the fastest jet in the game. It has super good turning. For weapons, the Raiju has explosive machine guns as well as homing missiles. This thing also has a stealth mode, meaning that if you disable all your weapons, you can literally be off the radar. So you can literally hide off the radar from players for as long as you want. Obviously, you won't be able to be offensive, but you can hide for extremely long time, meaning that if you're PvPing or something and your jet gets damaged, you can take it to your hangar so it repairs and your enemy won't know about it because you're in stealth. And because it has stealth, you can literally do sneak attacks on your enemies. The Raiju also has a volatic mode, meaning that you can literally stand still in the air, which is super cool. So if you're like doing a mission and you want to stop to kill all the enemies with your homing missiles, you can do that. Or if you have an enemy on the ground that is just chilling and you want to blow them up, you can just stop dead and blow them up. And then obviously just go into stealth mode and just hide somewhere, and they're completely bamboozled and so yeah, you should definitely buy the Raiju as an aircraft. It's super good. Next up, we got the best vehicle in GTA, the Terabyte. Now, many people might be confused, but this thing is so good. The Terabyte can take 34 RPGs and 34 homing missiles, meaning that the Terabyte can take more RPGs than the Asset Lab and take less homing missiles than the Asset Lab. However, after the Agents of Sabotage DLC, you can equip a missile lock-on jammer on this vehicle, meaning that no one can lock onto it and shoot missiles. On top of that, you can put stealth mode on this thing. If you're driving the Terabyte and you stop it for 10 to 15 seconds, this thing will go into stealth mode and no one will see you on the map unless you move or any player or NPC hits you from which you move and your stealth goes away. This is super good because you can have a friend inside the Terabyte shooting missiles while you're completely off the radar. On top of that, the missiles inside this vehicle can literally lock onto players, which are not even in any vehicle, which is super cool. On top of that, you get a nano drone in this thing, which is a drone version of the RC Bandito. With the drone, you can also tase people, which is hilarious. So you can troll people by tasing them and then maybe just exploding the drone next to them, which is hilarious. And then on top of that, this thing has a literal master control terminal, which if you didn't know is probably the best thing that has ever come into GTA. It basically allows you to access all your businesses at once in one place, so you can literally resupply or start resupply missions, and you can like start sale missions and shit, which is super good. The Terabyte is also a place where you can start missions such as your CO cargo warehouse, which is super cool, meaning that if you're somewhere on the map away from your warehouse, you can start the missions. On top of that, this thing has literally a collectible scanner, so if you're looking for collectibles and shit, you can literally find them around the map with the scanner. The Terabyte is also the place where you can literally modify the Mosquito. So if you are getting the Mosquito, you have to get the Terabyte to make it really good. The only bad thing I would say about the Terabyte is that it's really slow and you have to pay a ton of money for all the features because first of all, the Terabyte will cost you from like 1.4 to $3 million, and then you have to pay like $2.3 million for the new business, and then over there you have to spend around $3 to $4 million for the other features like the master control terminal, the missile lock and jammer, the stealth mode, and the collectible scanner. So this thing is an expensive boy, but if you do get everything on this thing, this is definitely the best vehicle in GTA. So yeah, let me know your thoughts off my list in the comments. I would like to see what you guys think, and if you have any suggestions for any cars that are really good, again, let me know in the comments.